how would you address the gun violence involving our youth, particularly in the corridor, you know, and throughout Nassau? And since we're on that, I just want to add in, another question came up was, would you be in favor of a civilian complaint review board for Nassau?
Okay, the answer to that question is similar to the question I was just answering before that, which is you have to prevent these problems from escalating in the first places. Why do these problems happen in the first places? Drug, alcohol, mental health problems that start to manifest themselves when kids are going from 3rd to 8th grade and then into high school. That's where the problem starts. You need to nip it in the bud and bring in the services that are necessary early on. When I was in office, though, you also have to do enforcement, which is what the Shot Spotter program is. If I started my administration, that my police commissioner started a program where we go shake the hand of every police officer that brought a gun in off the street. We started the gun buyback program to bring guns off the street. It's much more important to do the prevention stuff that I'm talking about. It's a long journey to get there. In the meanwhile, you have to do the enforcement. And right now, the police department in Nassau County is too small. We went from 2,600 down to 2,500. Now it's 2,150 people. And it's not working financially either. Not only, we've seen more scandals in the Nassau County Police Department in the past 3.5 years than we've seen in the past 20 years. And the force is the smallest it's ever been, and it's not saving money. Overtime has gone from $30 million when I left office to $65 million a day. That overtime could easily have us more regularly stationed officers. The optimum level is 2,444 officers, where the savings from headcount is less than the cost from overtime. Right now, the cost from overtime is much, much too high. And the Civilian Review Complaint Board, I would not institute a Civilian Complaint Review Board unless I worked with the police department to do something like that, and right now they would not be willing to do something like that. I would be willing to explore it, but we, historically in Nassau County, have not had the type of abuses that we've read about in other police departments, like the city of New York. But now it's getting, now we're seeing over the past 3.5 years, it getting much worse.
Thank you.
So I think you're referring to the jail complaint board that's put in place by the county charter, which you're talking about right now. And that's what I think is in the process of being put forth. The county charter states there should be a complaint review board, so there are grievances that there's some place to go. I mean, if someone's in jail, they feel like they have the rights, they do have rights, and there's abuses in jail, and we need to treat people, even if they've committed a crime, within the boundaries of the law.
I think they're concerning the police too.
It's the police?
Yes.
Okay, because I know that's the guy. You know, Tom is against it. I think we need to work with the police, but the best government you can have is one that engages the people. Transparency, transparency, transparency. And I believe a civilian complaint board, would be a place to air grievances and let people feel that they're heard. Because if not, you get pent-up anger, and then you have problems, and they go one on top of another. Now, the main issue is crime. How do we solve crime? What do we do? I did a lot of research in this because as I knocked on doors in Hempstead and Roosevelt and Freeport and Uniondale and everywhere in the corridor, thousands and thousands of doors, that's the same question. Well, there were two questions. Are you going to be here after the election, because every politician comes here and asks for our vote and then doesn't come back afterwards? And the answer is yes, I'll come back because I'll be beholden to you. And the way to get around the problems that you have in the worst crime areas is hire people who grew up in the neighborhood, who knows everybody's names, and go back on the beat, the good old-fashioned beat cop who's there 24/7. And I believe in business and in real life, preventative is much better than reaction. So it's always great to react to a crime, arrest somebody, have a big drug bust, and everybody's happy, but if you can get that kid before he gets to that point, gang prevention, drug prevention, I mean, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of a cure.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, one more question on law enforcement. Why do you have it, Mr. Haber? This is one of the questions that, by the way, I used to work in Long Island Radio back in the day, WGLI, WBLI, Babylon and Patchogue, LA County. And one of the interesting things was, to engage the people and get them involved. Why don't you engage the community in helping you get the bad guys? In other words, community groups, or allowing the communities, like you talk about Hempstead and Rockville Center, to get them to have citizen groups to help the police find the bad guys. We want the bad guys out of here as much as they do. The mayor said no. He said that was vigilanteism. That's what he said. Actually said that to me on the phone. What do you say about that idea and spreading that idea to these various towns and cities in Nassau County? Should they do something like that, engage the people? Because, like I said before, we want the bad guys out just as much as law enforcement.
What a unique idea, getting 1.35 million people involved in the solution instead of just a few elected people to come up with the ideas. Transparency, community involvement is the secret to success of government. So, long before I decided I was going to run for county executive, I wanted to help the community, and I went around and I felt like if you gave a suggestion to somebody, it just went into a box, and no one really knew what they thought of the suggestion, and you never really got a response. So I created the first of its kind in the country. I created something called NassauSuggestionBox.com. This, not only for policing, but for just about every topic in Nassau County, an anonymous community member can put a suggestion, and then the community votes on the suggestion. 1.35 million people hopefully will vote on the suggestion. You know, sometimes you get 10 responses, sometimes you get 100 responses. But the community decides what they want. And I want to give this, it would be an honor to give this to the county. Right now we have about 15,000 people who use it. And it's a great way to do polling, it's a great way to have an issue of the week. And the point of government is about the people, to get the people as engaged as possible. So this website will be a great step, never done before in the United States. I couldn't believe it. I actually have a patent, not a patent, a copyright on the idea. And I would give that copyright to the county. And anytime there's an issue or problem, like building a coliseum, you want to, in 2011, Mangano wanted to spend $2 million on August for referendum to build a coliseum. Well, hell no, people don't want to spend more money in taxes. You could have just done this question on the website and saved $2 million. You would have had it in 24 hours. It's great to get instant response. It's great to get instant response, and we need to start using tools in the 21st century like this website to get us where we need to be. NassauSuggestionBox.com. If the 500 suggestions go up tomorrow, I'll be very excited.
Thank you.
What Mr. Slade is suggesting is exactly what community policing is, where the police department has a relationship with people in the community so that when something or a crime happens, they know who they can go speak to find out what really happened. And to find out, I know this guy, and this guy was involved, or I know this guy comes from a good family, or I know this one, or I know this person. It's what community policing has to be about. That's why you can't have a police department that is not trusted by the people. We had a big problem with newcomers from Central and South America that were afraid of their undocumented status would end up getting them deported. And when they're afraid of the police, and the police being involved in their deportation issues, those folks get pushed underground. And if they're the victims of crime and they're afraid to go to the police department, then that becomes a big problem, because where do they go for protection? They go to gangs for protection. The same thing with any community, that if you don't trust the police department, then you don't feel you can go to them for help, they're not there for you, then they're not going to be able to do their job effectively. Community policing is absolutely 100% the way to do effective policing, and it requires the police department to look more like the people of Nassau County. A big part of my goals when I was county executive was to make the county government look like the people of Nassau County. My first police commissioner was an African-American police commissioner. My first deputy county executive for economic development was an African-American man. My commissioner of human resources was an African-American woman. I appointed 4 African-American judges. I appointed a Latina health commissioner. I appointed a Latino parks commissioner. I appointed a Latina director of mental health. These were all important jobs, not just for show jobs, jobs where people of the community had a place at the table as part of the decision-making process in the county. And I will work my best to make sure we do as much of that as possible if I'm elected as county executive again. Thank you.
All right, since he said, you want to finish with him? Since he's standing?
What color? There's 100 people in this room. You heard about how great the bond ratings are and how it's wonderful on the county side, but still, does anybody in this room feel that there's opportunities for people of color in Nassau County? And that's kind of my skill set is job creation. I've done it my whole life. I have taken risks with my own capital and put my skin on the line, and I've created jobs. And you can look at the people who are working with me now. It's the Rainbow Coalition. You know, I heard a funny joke when I was starting to run for county executive. And someone said the definition of a politician is the following. Politician invites everybody out to Peter Luger's for a great steak dinner. Everybody gets great bottles of wine, everybody has a great time, and before the bill comes, he sneaks out the back door. You know, I want to come in the front door and make sure that everybody has their fair share. You don't have to have steak. You just want to feed your family, you just want to have a roof over your head, and you want to have opportunity that's equal among everybody. And that's what I'm trying to bring to that.